Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, got an interview here that I found, and I want to say shout out to Garlinghouse because he was the guy who kind of really brought this to my attention, and I just want to continue to spread the message because, as I've said to you guys from the get-go, I'm trying to give you guys as much of a realistic representation of what Ripple and XRP is as I can, right? And so this is the kind of stuff that I'm trying to show you guys just to help you understand, what to expect and where things are going to go with them in terms of, what is realistic in terms of price action and that kind of stuff. And so I've had quite a few things lately, where, I've been covering, for example, interviews with David Schwartz, where he's been very realistic. He said, look, banks are not going to be Ripple's success story. He also said, cross-border payments hasn't really taken off in the way that we would have hoped. So we're now looking to other ways to expand the business. There's been a few things where I've been that's, it's honest first and foremost, but it's telling, right? And so I want to make it clear, this isn't stuff that I'm showing you to make you think that I'm going away from XRP or that I think XRP is a bad investment. It's more to just give you the realistic aspect, right? For me, what I'm trying to show you is when you're looking at, for example, $10,000 next year, this content I'm trying to show you is why I don't think that kind of stuff is going to happen. And it's the kind of thing that I'm showing you to support my argument as to why I'm saying this. So we've got an interview here with Chris Larsen, and this was from 2014. So I just want to make that clear because, I don't want this to seem like this was an interview that was done last week or anything like that. I don't want that to be misconstrued. But I do want to just give a bit of an idea as to how Ripple were originally looking at this, because it tells a bit of a different story as to where we are now. And so I'm just going to give my quick thoughts on this. I'm not going to get too deep into it because it's a 20-minute interview. So I'm not going into the full, the full aspect of the interview. But there's one part that I really wanted to just touch on here. So, within this interview, Chris Larsen basically actually says that XRP to the XRP ledger is actually secondary. It's not the primary focus of the XRP ledger. It's secondary. And so the reason why I want to highlight this is because this is the kind of thing that I'm trying to show you guys when it comes to, for example, worrying about the stablecoin replacing XRP, right? I'm trying to show you that Ripple as a company and where they were trying to get to, XRP wasn't the primary focus. It wasn't. So he says this pretty early on in the interview, so you haven't got to watch the whole thing to hear that. It comes quite early on, but if you listen to the whole thing, he explains why, you haven't got to be concerned about this, because he explains what this will do in terms of what Ripple and the XRP ledger are trying to do. But I want to get into that, right? So what are they saying when they say XRP secondary? Well, for the people who just think, okay, cross-border payments, right? That's the thing that's just going to bring trillions in, and that's what's going to just absolutely crazily, explode the price, etc., etc. That wasn't even their primary focus at first, right? It was about building value on the XRP ledger. So what kind of things would build value on the XRP ledger? Well, cross-border payments would, yeah, but that's one aspect, right? That's just one aspect. Tokenization would, RWA tokenization, stablecoins, yeah, smart contracts, NFTs. Now, again, some of these things that I'm saying, NFTs, I don't think NFTs was even around at that point, but I'm just talking about points of things that we could speak on, right? That they could actually add value to XRP. And so my point here of what I'm trying to show you guys is this. When you just keep focusing on cross-border payments, it's a bit one-track minded, right? Because yes, cross-border payments sounds incredible, right? It does. Banks using XRP, to move trillions around the world on a daily basis in, literally seconds for fractions of a penny. It sounds great. It really does. But, you've got to understand that, how long has ODL been around now? And Ripple have, 300 plus partnerships, which I'm not saying is bad, but that's not every bank in the world, right? Clearly. So the point that I'm trying to show you guys is, as great as a use case cross-border payments is, they've still got work to do in regards to getting, more banks on board, and also David Schwartz said in an interview very recently that banks are slow to adopt. Like, they're very slow to execute. So although they have some of these partnerships, they're not completely moving away from the old financial system to RippleNet and XRP. They're not doing that. They're not moving to ODL right now. And so when you're just focusing on the one use case, I said this before, it's basically like putting all your eggs in one basket, right? And the problem with that is, well, what if that use case does fail? Or what if it doesn't move at the pace that you want it to? Because we've got a real world example here, and people can say, no, that's not the case. But David Schwartz said this himself. So I'm not about to believe people who are watching, YouTubers saying XRP is going to $10,000 over David Schwartz. Like, if he's saying, look, it really just hasn't worked out as good as we'd hoped it had. I'm not saying that means it's failed. I do think eventually there will be a good amount of banks that will be using XRP. I do believe that, but I do think it's going to take time. I think it's going to take even longer than what I would have originally thought. And I think that's what David Schwartz is saying as well, which is why they're adapting. They're looking at other use cases that they can also add to XRP to help build value and, bring in money for Ripple. So, when we're talking about, XRP being secondary, yeah, it's saying like, look, yes, we do want XRP to be utilized, but it doesn't have to necessarily just be through, like the cross-border payments, for example. It could be through other factors that are going to help. Again, like I say, the stablecoin, tokenization, these kind of things. And so, look, I think two things when I see this interview. Because Jungling said this, and I do agree. Like, he said, you wouldn't hear Chris Larsen say this again about XRP. Like, you wouldn't. And I agree. Like, then even if that's the way he feels at the moment, they're not going to say that at this point. So this makes me think one of two things, right? Okay. When they said this, right? And obviously we look at how it is now. Is it a thing where they've changed their mind and pivoted away from how they originally felt? So is it a thing where they did originally feel that XRP was going to be secondary, but now they've looked at it and thought, no, actually, we want to put XRP as the primary focus and try and, utilize it? Or is it two, that no, XRP has always been secondary, but because of how big it's now got and the money that's involved, they can't speak like that anymore. They can't speak as honestly as they used to. That's my, let me just add a three. Okay, three. Is it a thing where XRP did become the primary focus, but because that's, led to them maybe not being as successful as they'd hoped, they have now pivoted and now gone to, okay, let's put XRP secondary again, because it's not really working out the way we'd want to, put in XRP as a primary focus. So let's just focus on the XRP ledger and building value through the XRP ledger instead. So it's one of three things for me in regards to this. But to me, the thing about this is not something to be scared of. It's not a bad thing, to be honest with you, because I'll put it to you like this, right? All these things that we're talking about here, like stablecoins, tokenization, NFTs, smart contracts, all this kind of stuff that you could add into the XRP ledger, these are all things that are going to help with XRP being adopted and utilized, even if XRP is being used as the gas token. So, these are all still positives for XRP. It's just not being as utilized as much as if XRP was the primary focus and they got it pushed the way they did. But this is the thing. We've seen how hard they've pushed in regards to ODL, and unfortunately that hasn't worked out the way they'd hoped. So the thing that I'm trying to show you guys is, if we was to say, look, Ripple, you just need to keep focusing on XRP, what if they fail? Right? What if they fail doing that? What if it just doesn't work out? And when I say fail, I don't want to, again, let me make this clear. I'm not saying that XRP in terms of cross-border payments has failed. I'm not saying that, because there's people using XRP for cross-border payments. There are partnerships that Ripple have. So it hasn't failed. But what I'm saying is, they've not got the type of partnerships that they wish they would have. They've not grown the way they thought it would. They thought this would be something that would be adopted, on mass scale at a much quicker pace. I'm saying it's maybe going to take a lot longer for them to get to that position. And I think Ripple as a company are thinking, well, how long are we going to be waiting for that to come through? So, okay, So how can we make money elsewhere that can help bring value to us as a company and to XRP, right? Like, we still keep pushing for ODL, which I'm convinced they will do because it is a great use case. So I don't think they're going to abandon it, but I think you've just got to accept that maybe cross-border payments isn't going to be something that happens, in terms of like within the next 1 to 2 years. Maybe it's going to take 5 years. Maybe it's going to take longer, that kind of thing. And so when I'm looking at what Chris is saying here, it's honest. And I think the reason why he was this honest is because it was such early days. Like, this is 2014. And so you're in a different position at that point, right? XRP, I don't believe it had the massive success. Like, when it went up to $3, etc., the all-time high, that was 2017, right? So you got to understand that Chris Larsen held, a massive amount of XRP. You got to understand that, like, Chris Larsen became like a billionaire from XRP going to its all-time high. And at that point, like, you're dealing with it in a different way at this point, right? And you got to understand that when you've got this kind of money involved, what you say can move the market, right? So if Chris Larsen was to say this in this day and age, this same thing, the way people react to things, like, they don't necessarily listen to the whole context. All they'll see is the clip of Chris Larsen saying XRP is secondary, and that will be a meltdown, right? Like, even in terms of this video, I'm sure not everybody's going to watch the whole thing of what I'm saying. There'll be people who hear just like bits and bobs and cut off. But it's like you're missing the whole context. So you're only hearing maybe the negative part, and then you've already formed an opinion before you've heard the whole context of the full interview or what I'm saying. So this is why it can cause problems, because people might see, oh, Chris Larsen says XRP is secondary, and then they just immediately go and sell XRP. Like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, what they're doing, and move away. And it's like, no, that's not really as bad as it sounds if you listen to the entire interview, right? So to me, this, what I would say, in my opinion, this was the honest vision of Ripple in the first place, which shows that no, XRP wasn't the primary focus. It was obviously the token for the ledger, but that's basically what it was. They was trying to build value on the ledger with XRP being utilized in that way. I think they probably pivoted, and maybe part of that pivot was when XRP did have its huge spike to its all-time high. Maybe at that point they thought, man, there's real value in this token. Let's really push and see if we can get more value out of it. Let's really like put a focus on this and see where we can take it. And then, they've really pushed as hard as they can, and maybe they've realized, okay, maybe this isn't really working the way we'd hoped. Let's go back to adding value to the ledger instead. And that way we can still build value to XRP, but not just focusing solely on, for example, ODL, that kind of stuff, right? So that's my thoughts on this. To me, again, what I'm just trying to show you is like the way Ripple themselves are telling you they view XRP. Could that have changed over time? Yeah, of course. But to me, even if it was a change, to me, it would seem, looking at how they're operating now, it seems to me like they're changing back, because David Schwartz is being open about saying, banks are not really moving the way they want them to move. He's also said that they've kind of started to look at other things other than just ODL, because it hasn't worked the way they'd hoped. We're now seeing partnerships in terms of like tokenization. They're releasing a stable coin. So their actions are kind of telling you, yeah, we're not just focusing just on ODL anymore. We're not just looking at just XRP. We're looking at ways that we can actually build value via the ledger to build value into XRP. So this is what I'm saying. Like, this isn't something necessarily to be feared. But again, when you're just looking at XRP as this like savior coin, this is the kind of thing that you'd want to see to help you give like that realistic approach. Because now you can see how Ripple were looking at XRP in the very early stages. And it seems to me like that's where they're going at this point. So it's all coming back full circle, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Chris Larsen on XRP being secondary. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'll be interested to hear. Thank you very much for watching this. If you did like it, please remember to drop a comment, like, and subscribe. But until next time, take care.